Join us now for the City of Dillon Council meeting, brought to you by Hometown TV, serving Dillon and Marion counties.
Guidelines towards that, and maybe the governor said something. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you mask when you go to go up to the house, try to use some social distancing, and I know that's hard with little children. I don't think every little kid ought to put their hand in the candy basket. Have the homeowner hand the candy to the child. Maybe they'd be gloved. Just use some common sense. I know that in Dillon that we have a pretty wholesome, fun time on Halloween, and we can open that up for discussion. Maybe.
I thought last month we talked about that briefly.
And what did we? Basically came to that conclusion.
Okay. Provide guidelines.
Okay. All right.
I've talked to Betsy here last week. Good. Town of Latta and Lakeview, we've all kind of
good. Okay.
Come up with some ideas together.
All right.
To make sure we're all doing the same thing.
Good. I want to mention that we've had two fundraisers at the country club. One was PD Coalition, and the other was Helping Hands. And I think through those two golf tournaments, we raised around $43,000 that will stay right here in Dillon County. Our Helping Hands one, it broke another record that we had the year before. And the good thing about that, and I've mentioned this before, 100% of that money goes right here to the citizens of Dillon. The Johnson Foundation pays for all the administrative fees, and it's just it's a good program. They care for the needy. I think there's something like 330 families that they feed. It's a tremendous program. But anyway, couldn't do that without that golf course. We can't give that money straight to these people. Also, the PD Coalition. Is there someone here? Someone here tonight's going to talk about the PD Coalition. I don't want to take her thunder, but there's also been a fundraiser for the house that is doing quite well. I had 2 weeks ago, we had that 3 inches of rain in short period of time, and
seemed like less than hours.
Yeah, I mean, it was just unbelievable. And he was complaining that the ditch was full and his yard was flooded and all that. And I said, there is no system that's going to handle that. And I know we got storm drainage that's going to talk to us tonight. So we're anxious to hear what he has to say. And again, the mask policy. I just think I don't know if the mask, I mentioned earlier, before the meeting, that I'm not sure whether the mask help or not. I think that's an ungathered science but it's kind. When you go in, many times I'll walk in someplace, and when I get within 10 feet of someone, I'll pull up. I don't have it on all the time, but I pull up, and that just kind of says to them, hey, I care about you. I don't know whether I'm infected, but, if I am, I'm going to try my best to protect me from you. So just common courtesy. And I think, honestly, with all this that we're doing now, and hopefully we will have a very mild flu season on top of the COVID-19. Try to get your flu shots. My own feeling is if the COVID vaccine comes out, I feel pretty sure I'm going to get it. I'm 65 and I see it every day. If you're unhealthy, it's a good idea to take it. I don't think the federal government's going to push through a substandard vaccine. But that's about all I have, Glenn.
All right. First and foremost, October is now the time for us to do open enrollment for our health insurance. We have until no later than October 30th if you want to change anything in your policy for health insurance. Get with Janet or you can go online to SCPIPA to do that. And that will, once you make those, if you make any changes, that takes place and becomes effective January 1st of 2021. Also beginning January 1st, 2021, and God, I've never said this, our insurance premium decrease. So January 1st, 2021.
That is coming on to, or is that with the history that we've had for 6 months?
That is our history plus other folks. This is a group pool.
Right,
So,
right.
But it will decrease, not by a large amount of money, but it doesn't matter. We've never had a decrease. So, I mean, that's a
Yep.
plus. Just to let you know, employee, as of today, they spend $99.92 for health insurance, just for themselves. Coming January 1st, it drops to $98.46. So it's not a lot of savings for them, nor for the city, but it's not an increase, so that's a plus.
Right.
But the coverage is tremendously better.
Without a doubt.
Thank you.
Without a doubt. Unless you got basic dental. Basic dental is not very good compared to what we had in the past, but that is free.
How many years do we have TCC?
5 years.
No,
15.
probably over 10. Whenever
10?
municipal
13th year.
association-
13th.
We left and went to another one and then went back again.
15.
So the combination of Steinmark's, whatever it was, and TCC
15
over
years.
10 years?
Yeah,
There.
absolutely. So, I mean, never been to a council meeting.
It was
that
right
our
at 15.
Insurance premium has
It's 13
decreased.
and a half.
One every
So
10.
that's good news. Now, this time next year, it may increase, who knows?
Hopefully with those large numbers, it won't.
Yeah.
They're 500,000 over
Yeah.
now, I think.
Yeah, the greater the volume of distribution, the better deal we'll get.
Absolutely. And then the city is going to save roughly $6 per employee, what the city pays for each employee per month. So, you know, that's what, $72 per employee a year that we will save. Now, that does not also include where we're paying for spouse and children as well, but that decreased as well. I was just looking at what the city's paying per employee and what the employee pays for themselves. It's good news to have that. We've been talking about selling vehicles that the city owns, especially old police cars. We put that on the program that we go through with Gov Deals, which is an online auction. We sold 6 police vehicles that we no longer were using for a grand total of $4,505. And we sold 2 vehicles
We didn't
in the
ask.
street department that were no longer being used for a grand total of $660.
Does that money go back in the general fund?
The police cars go back to wherever the vehicles were
Came
purchased.
from, yeah.
Goes back to that. So in police cars, I think were bought out of the drug money. So that'll go, once we get the money from Gov Deals, that's where it'd be put into.
Okay.
And then the 660 that we got for street department will go back into the general fund. Back in the summer, Tina and I applied for a grant through Duke Energy Foundation. Usually Duke has grants out there for environmental things. But this year they opened it up more so to environmental due to the COVID-19, because they saw where people were doing outside things more than normal, they thought. So they opened up a grant to where you could apply for outdoor exercise, per se. So we applied for a grant for $10,000 to add some outdoor exercise equipment out here at the Wellness Center property. We were notified about 2 weeks ago that they will award us $10,000, and in fact, I think you got the check last week, so.
Wow.
And there's $10,000 that Duke Energy Foundation has awarded the city for some exercise equipment around the Walking Center track. And then part of that, we have to put up signage that this was funded by Duke Energy Foundation. Last month, there was a question about chemical costs for Purdue lift station. It cost us roughly $5,000 a month to put in what is known as lime slurry and an odor control is what it costs the city for that pump station at the lift station.
Did we reach back out to Purdue to see if they would help with the cost?
Not as of yet,
Okay.
but I will tell you that Purdue paid us during this same time period. I went back and looked at this cost. Purdue paid us $1.5 million in user fees
Okay.
and $60,636 in depreciation during that 12-month period.
The contract's renegotiated yearly.
No,
No
we don't have a
contract.
with it.
There's no contract anymore. And that, at one time, the contract, part of it was operation, maintenance, and repair, and we came up with a number per gallon that was a Purdue, that's what we extended to them. And some of that was in it, but now, and that was when it was $1.90, $2 a 1,000 gallons, and what are they paying
What do you
now?
pay now, you know? A little over $4 per thousand.
$4 a 1,000 gallons, so in 15 years, that's doubled what they pay. And when you're buying, 1.6 million gallons a day at $4 a 1,000, I mean, they're a significant part of our budget, our water and sewage budget. But I was curious if as we look at their cost, we have talked to them about what they send us, correct? And are we testing? I mean, sometimes it stinks, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, when we look at that testing, are they staying within the guidelines?
And when they don't, we send them a violation.
Okay. And we can reach out to them. I'm not opposed to that, Johnny, but, they're doing what we ask them to do, and they're paying us what we're charging them to pay. And, to ask them to do more, I mean, we can. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt if they come back and say, we're doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, my only problem I had is like on Deerwood Avenue, we have another catastrophic event, and it cost the city $250,000.
Right.
That's what I was looking at.
Well, and then what you got there is depreciation account.
Right, and what do we have in that?
1.9,
Okay.
is that about right?
But I mean, anything can happen, the failures of the lines and everything
Right. Oh, yeah.
due to Purdue, and when it happens, it's a catastrophic
And
event.
I'll tell you this, and I take I've been here the longest, and I know what our flows have been and what they're supposed to be. Our sludge hadn't gone down, but they had gone from 9 gallons a bird down to 4 gallons a bird. So they had cut their water and sewage significantly. How do you do that? Well, the only way you can do it is send a higher concentration of discharge. And when they sent that higher concentration, the volume dropped, and then those highs and lows along that pipe, when that volume dropped, and the gas above that ate those pipes up. So a little bit, I mean, Hardy, am I wrong? And this is what happened. Our sludge fees stayed the same, and we did that probably a year and a half. And then, and we caught up a little bit. I mean, we didn't catch up $900,000 for all the, or
In 2000,
memory serves me correctly, in 2013, when we had the first sinkhole, I believe it was, we had almost 3 million in that appreciation count.
Yeah.
And, you know, at that point in time, the system was almost 15 years old. So
Yeah.
that's when we started.
92, yeah.
Having to start do things. So, you know, we were right at 3 million. We probably spent since then at least 2 million. And, you know, we're back to 1.8 million. Which that's that 60,000 they put in annually now. And we put in what? A year.
No, oh, okay, that's, we put in that one, so.
So we put in about 90,000 a year, they put in 60,000, so that's 150,000 a year.
That being said, and you don't ever want to call it a margin. If you look at your water and sewage, we're about 200,000. I think last year we operated at about $400,000 margin. So that's how we're kind of funding that depreciation so that we, you know, will have money there and we'll have money to match when we go and try to, you know, build another plant.
We're putting now our funds, their funds, and depreciation combined now versus when they were under contract, and they were under contract when we had a SRF loan, which was like $13 million, and they paid roughly 58% of that loan. And during that time period, that 20-year time period, us combined in depreciation, we both put in as a total combination of 212,000, I believe it was. So we're about half that now. That's a little over half.
We put in $157,296 a year, the city and Purdue.
But we had a margin, but we went through a period of time when there was no margin.
We did.
And we made adjustments, but now we're functioning with a margin so that we can get that fund back up.
And at that time also, their rate was pretty much $1, I think.
92, it was $1. When we went from $1.72 to $1.92, that was 15, 20 years ago. It was like the suits came in with briefcases, you know. But you know, I tell you, Purdue has headed that PD coalition thing. They're good community supporters, and I don't mind asking them. But I don't, like I say, I think they're paying their share, and I think we're going to be all right in that fund.
How far are we from actually having the wastewater treatment plant paid off?
Oh, we paid that.
It's done,
It's
paid off
done.
now?
Yeah, that 13 million was what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
2000.
Because I know when Grand Strand came to meet with us, we at the time, we hadn't paid it off, correct?
We should have been right at the end of it, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was paid off September or August of 2017.
Okay.
For that. That is correct.
What's our plan right now for the going now 34, just changing the subject?
There is a study that was funded by Department of Commerce and NISA, and PD COG is in charge of that, and the engineering firm is doing this county-wide water sewer study. And once
Who's funding that? I mean, is that going through us?
No.
That's going through the county.
But Harbor Freight's already on our water,
They're on our
Just-
sewer.
Sewer, yeah.
so they're on our sewer, but we're doing the water for their sprinkler system.
No,
We're not.
none at all.
So
Yeah, it's all
there's zero
private.
water out there.
Zero water from the city.
But since we've annexed the logistics centers in, now can we go get Harbor Freight next year?
Yeah,
It's a possibility, but the logistics center hadn't sent their stuff in yet.
No, sir.
But we
What
do
would
get them. We will service
What
them.
will the
water,
numbers
sewer
look
water.
like with those groups involved? I mean,
Numbers in what way?
as far as our fee structure going out that direction.
Fee structure or usage?
Actually, it'd be
Whatever
better.
Whatever out of city fee is what theirs will be.
Yeah, but if they're annexed, then they.
Well, if they're
they
annexed,
would-
then it'd be.
See,
in-
they
in
would
the
save,
city.
and they don't, I mean, it's toilet water. I mean, it's not a lot
But
of
we've
stuff out
annexed
there.
one side of the road, but not the other.
No, both sides of the road is annexed in, 10 10 feet deep of each frontage on 34. The length of the property, but 10 feet depth
I got you.
is all we got initially. And then as they build,
So their plan on the SCDOT is to extend that road,
I have no idea.
widen and through?
Yep.
Because I would like, Dr. Wallace has mentioned before about us going to the other side of the
We're on-
Love side.
We're on the other
Yeah,
side.
we've got
With a
some
million,
on
we got
the-
1 million gallons capacity on the
On
west
water.
side of I-95.
Just the water.
Sewer.
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 We have no
But see, that's
water
still
out.
in the county, so Trico has.
So we're running from around the other way down,
No, we bored under I-95.
under that. So we're already prepared with that.
Yeah,
What,
but
what's,
1 million gallons.
what's our volume on that? 1 million?
1 million gallon capacity, but
That's not a large capacity, is
no.
it?
And I'd be very surprised if, they don't come back with the idea that we need a plan on the west side of I-95.
So if there had to be housing on that other side, we would run into an issue with that.
Good.
Well, but 1,000 1 million gallons is gonna go a long way in residential. It's just isn't gonna go very far with,
With a
wet
plant.
industry.
Are we serving Wyman Gordon?
Another Purdue couldn't go out.
Are we serving Wyman Gordon the sewer?
So Wyman Gordon, Harbor Freight, Love Travel Center, the new, spec building, I don't know if anything's moved into it yet, on the other side of Wyman Gordon. That will be tied into our system. And the last thing I have, well, almost the last thing, I'm sorry. In the police department, we have talked about during the budget process, the last month or two, about upfitting our police patrol cars with laptops and printers. That cost is roughly $58,063, which we talked about if you guys approve it tonight, we can take that out of our drug fund money to pay that.
How much is left in that? About 200?
179.
Now, this is an upgrade you're talking about, correct?
No, this is we don't have.
This is an
We
upfit.
don't have them in our vehicles as of right now.
What will that do for you, David?
It'll make things, when we talked with all the officers this year, that was one of the main things that everybody really was, because they're doing double and triple work. Because they'll go and they'll handwrite the information from the victim and the suspect, and they go back to the office, and then they have to type it in. Same with traffic tickets, they'll write the ticket, then they have to go back and manually enter them. So they'll be, in their patrol car, they'll be able to do it one time. It'll just save them a lot of
Time.
time.
Will the ticket automatically be printed in the spot?
And at that point, then instead of, it'll be a handheld scanner, am I correct? Where they take your driver's license, for instance, just scan it, instead of having to punch in
Write the numbers,
or call it
make
up the
mistakes
radio. And that has happened. And then the down the road issue will be, the county along with the state, is it the state?
Yes, sir.
Or the state is looking to fund what is known as a server, I guess, to go at 911. So when they dispatch, it will also be sent out
Through
to their
the
computer.
computers.
Yeah.
Alert them.
I think the most important thing is that they don't have to go back now to headquarters and leave the community. They can do the report wherever they're at. So that, I think that's a, win-win.
But that'll be.
Situation.
That'll be brought up in under new business to vote on, but I just want to let you know that it is 16 patrol cars, 16 laptops, which roughly is $34,786, 16 printers, which is about $9,400. Then we gotta have mounts to put this stuff on in the cars, which comes to about $7,400.
Got a monthly charge too, don't you? Don't you have to have a hotspot in each
There
car?
will be Verizon or somebody we're looking at to not have a hotspot, just to be able to communicate. But there was, I think, was it $20 a month?
$20 a month.
Yeah, per computer. So, and then installation was $6,400, which that brings the total to 58,000, but that's under new business to vote on.
That's still, I mean, that's $7,600 a year, right? If I did my math right. Just,
Service,
don't we have about 30 cars?
no, 16.
Oh, you do it on
Yeah,
16.
do it on 16.
So it'd be 3,500, yeah.
Doing
All
on
right.
16. And the last thing I have, turn it over to Chief Lane to introduce two of our newest police officers.
Is that something we need to vote on now?
No, that's going to.
Oh, okay.
We're coming back with it.
I got you.
First, I'd like to introduce Christopher Zeller. We call him CJ. He's got 6 years of experience in law enforcement. He actually started his law enforcement career here. He graduated Citadel, and he graduated with some folks that were here in Dillon, and we hired him. He stayed here for 2 years, which was the agreement that we made. He decided he wanted to spread his wings a little bit. He went to Fort Myrtle Beach and stayed there for a while. And he's back here, and we are very pleased to have him back here. He did a great job for us before, and we're really excited to have him back. Secondly, we have Drew Massengill. He has just completed the police academy last Friday. The police academy is a lot different because of COVID. They've reduced the number of people in the class. They have tried to limit the amount of hands-on. The folks that he was in class with, I think he was with those people all the time. When he came home, he was supposed to quarantine just so they didn't make sure they didn't have an outbreak at the police academy. But Bruce's been up at the police academy for the last 8 weeks. Is that right? And he's from here, and we're also glad to have him. I'll see him around. Please welcome him. Yeah. Y'all would just give him a round of applause.
Yep. So where does that put us at as far as staffing now?
We're still 2 short, am I correct? 3 short, the chief tells us.
Okay.
And 2 of the 3 are on the detective side, or on the,
All 3 are on that side.
On the-
We actually have one in the police academy now. And I think he has 4 weeks left.
once he comes out, patrol units will be full. So we're going 1 short on patrol unit, but he's in the academy. That's all I have.
All right. Janet?
I'm going to start out with general fund. I'm going to give you the cash accounts for general fund and depreciation account. Fund $4,687,463. Our revenues year to date is $1,451,310. Our expenses year to date is $1,559,562, which is $108,252 more in expenses than revenues, because we're not getting our revenues toward our taxes until probably November, December. So we're at 27% expenses and 24% revenues.
Didn't you, used to put in like where we were like 2019?
Yeah, I didn't know if y'all still wanted to.
Well, to me, I mean, these numbers, I mean, I want to know them, but I'd like to know it relative. I know we kept the doors open a year ago, so if I'm doing as good as I did last year, I know I can keep my doors
I'll put
open.
it back on.
Yeah,
I'll
all
put it
right,
back on.
thank you.
Okay, the next one is the stormwater fund. We've got $174,251 in the account. Our revenues, $37,641 year to date. Expenses is $24,932. We've got $12,709 more in revenues than we did in expenses. Water and sewer fund, our cash account, depreciation, and CD that is non-restricted, we have $1,607,855. In that account, the Purdue and the customer deposits, which is total restricted, is $2,021,294. Total in both accounts, $3,629,149.
The depreciation would be growing in the restricted account, And, correct? And then the non-restricted is where we would put any,
If I have any excess that I
Right,
would put it,
right.
I would put it there.
Just at the end of the year.
correct,
That's where-
yeah. Just, that's where you're gonna see the number grow. You're not gonna necessarily see it in the restricted account.
Our revenues to date is $1,163,660. Our expenses is $937,735, which is $225,925 more in revenues than expenses. We've got our revenues is 37%, our expenses is 26%. Golf course, our cash account's $28,813. Our total revenues year-to-date is $71,106. Our year-to-date expenses, $134,453,000. We're $63,347 more in expenses than revenues. And of course, we had 2 pumps to go out on that. Special revenues, which is 2% hospitality, we've got $1,001,101 in that account. Okay. Our revenues, $166,652 year-to-date revenues. Our expenses is $77.85, a difference of $166,574 more in revenues and expenses. We did transfer $45,000 to the golf course. Last year, we'll tell you, we took in year-to-date $157,872, which is $8,711 more this year than last year.
And that's with 2 restaurants now. You got Bojangles redoing, and, we haven't seen Zaxby's reopen. All right. Thank you, Jane. We covered up my agenda. There it is. All right, Mr. Kirk?
Yeah, Kevin Carrick's here for a stormwater study. Kevin worked with AECom, who's our engineering firm on this project. And that's Kevin to come in to kind of brief council on what they're fixing to do or what they have begun to do, and kind of give the timeline presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate the invitation to come tonight and speak with you a little bit. I'm Kevin Crick, the project manager with AECom. And as you know, stormwater is a big deal around here. With all the hurricanes that we've had over the last several years, as well as some of these high-intensity rainfall events like the 3 inches we saw the other week, not having enough stormwater capacity in the system to handle that has been a big deal. So we were successful working with Glenn to obtain a hazard mitigation grant from FEMA, which is allowing us to put together a stormwater master plan. And the purpose of the stormwater master plan is to, number 1, identify the problem areas, number 2, determine how you can fix those areas, and then number 3, come up with a plan and a cost for prioritizing and implementing those ideas and those new infrastructure components over the next however many years. So the process that we're going to go through, we've already started some of this. The first step is for us to do a physical assessment of the hotspot areas within the city, take a look at the size of the stormwater pipes, the number of inlets that we have, the outfall ditches, and make sure that we understand how that's all working. Also, part of that will be, we're going to hold some public meetings to be able to invite the public in and get an idea of where they see issues. Obviously, we can't be everywhere at the same time and see where the flooding is occurring, so we want to have that input from the actual residents and business owners in the area. We'll take all of that information and then we'll put together a hydrology and a hydraulic watershed model. And so we'll start using the science to determine what's supposed to be happening as we currently sit every time it rains. And we can use that model and do it in a whole bunch of different rainfall events from small to large and see what's actually happening. Once we do that, we'll know exactly what areas need improvement, where the bottlenecks are, if you will, where we might not have enough inlets to get water off the streets. We'll take and run some scenarios through our model that will then identify what needs to be upgraded and how we can best do that. Then kind of the final phase of the process will be to take all of that information and come up with an actual plan, something that has cost associated with it, something that has maybe prioritization, so that you know which project needs to happen first, second, or third, and then kind of an implementation plan. Obviously, you can't install all the storm drainage that you want in the first 6 months, but over the course of time, you can go through and figure out what's the best plan of action moving forward to solve some of these stormwater issues and repetitive losses that we keep seeing. So that's kind of where we're headed. Be happy to
You
answer
haven't
questions.
looked at any of the structure yet, the pipes and stuff?
We have started.
Yeah.
We actually have some folks that have been out in the field the last couple of days, starting to look at some of these issues. So you may see them around wearing some vests, looking in the streets. That's what they're doing.
We got one particular area that we're aware of, and the pipe, I think, runs under the street. Is that correct?
Which one are we talking about?
The one that goes, is it Hampton?
Yeah, he's talking about the one where we're looking down First Avenue South, where it turns down to Hampton, goes from one size to another, back to another size.
Right.
Large, small to large.
Right. Yep. And that's exactly the kind of stuff we're looking at.
So
right
you
now.
work with DOT to get that resurfaced after you've gone in and replaced the pipe?
Well, eventually, yes. So right now, what we're doing is coming up with more or less a conceptual idea of what needs to happen.
Yeah.
So once we've identified specific projects that need to happen, we would go into a full design mode and design what size pipe needs to be in there, exactly how a contractor should put it back. In some cases, working with the DOT a lot of this infrastructure is theirs, so we'll have to kind of work with them and see how they're going to help us with that.
Well, we got someone else looking at renovating downtown and redoing our downtown. It doesn't make much sense to not coordinate these two projects so that I think downtown might ought to be a priority to get that flood situation fixed before we go down there and spend a lot of money and people invest in buildings and stuff. And certainly that would alleviate some of the problem over there on First Avenue that floods pretty easily.
And hopefully,
Just a thought of prioritization, how you going to prioritize
Hopefully
these.
is going to tell us why, other than we think because of one large size to a small
Right.
size is an issue, but it may tell us something else in this study. Maybe not enough inlets, maybe too many inlets coming in. We just got to wait and see what that.
Okay.
Kevin, you were here for the last rain.
I wasn't here, but I saw the pictures. And, they were something else.
But, I got a call and a picture, myself from somebody, a friend of mine. And he said, that's why I don't put carpet back down. But it,
I don't know.
if you're going to get that kind of rain, you're probably not going to be able to design something that's going to take care of that.
Well, that's correct, and that'll be kind of the one caveat
Yeah.
here is, you can design for the 100-year storm or the 1,000-year storm or whatever.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, it doesn't happen all that often, hopefully. And number two, you can't afford it.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's way beyond the normal design standards that you would use. What we want to do is make sure that what's happening now and what we come up with a fix for handles your everyday type of storm events.
So basically, y'all still going around identifying the problem areas?
Right, so I didn't touch on the schedule, but as far as schedule is concerned, it's going to take us about 2 months to kind of get the hotspot areas and know exactly what's going on. It'll take us several months after that to put together the water model and then also start doing some of the conceptual design elements to see how it would be improved. And then we'll take another couple of months to put together the master plan and prioritize what these are. So we're looking at finishing sometime next summer.
How do you determine which problem area is worse than the other? Like First Avenue has a lot of flooding, Highway 301 has a lot of flooding, but it has a lot of traffic on it.
A lot of when you start talking about prioritization, it's a lot of subjectivity to it. So there's various criteria that we can use to figure that out. So if it impacts, building structures, that's an issue. If it impacts, travel, the vehicles being able to get back and forth, that's an issue. How we come up with exactly which one should be done first, second, or third will depend partly on those types of issues, as well as cost, as well as how many people are impacted by it. So, if you have one area that floods all the time and it's one house, and it's going to cost a lot to fix it, that may not be as valuable to you or as high a priority as fixing a major trunk line, which then benefits, a whole section of the city.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kid.
Hardy, one thing I'd like to say, my son called me in a panic and had a couple of 3 guys come over there. I mean, he was flushing on one floor and it was coming out of his bathtub on the bottom floor. And anyway, Nicholas was just overwhelmed by how quick they came, how nice they were, and how efficient they were in fixing the problem. And I just, say something to them. I think Nicholas is, but it, we really have a lot of good people that work for our city. A lot of good people. But I did want to pass that on. Carolyn Blue. This PD Coalition.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a volunteer my name is Aisha Coleman. I'm a volunteer at PD Coalition. On behalf of PD Coalition, I would like to thank this council for giving us time to express our appreciation for your acknowledgement of the necessity of our services. I would also like to announce that we have moved into our permanent location at 1101 Highway 301 North here in Dillon. Since we have been there, we have provided services for 22 victims of domestic violence. From October 2019 to September 2020, the Dillon Satellite Center provided assistance to 104 family violence victims. The Dillon Satellite Center requested 57 protection orders, of which 22 have been granted. October is National Domestic Violence Month. Our goal is to raise awareness about domestic violence and the effects it has on family and communities. Currently, South Carolina still ranks in the top 10 in the United States with domestic murders at domestics. At PD Coalition, we believe that the reduction of family violence, sexual assault, and child abuse should be the goal of everyone, the community, as well as service providers. Working together, we can make this happen. Once again, we appreciate you as community leaders. Your support of the coalition's work to end domestic violence is greatly appreciated. Thank you for your commitment to helping create a safer, more compassionate community in the city of Dillon.
Thank you. Thank you. They raised money, or they're in the process of raising money to buy that building, and I think what's your total project is about $190,000.
A little over 200,000,
Yeah.
of which we've already raised 109,000 of that.
Yeah, and that's now there's a match. Is that including the matching? That's including the matching, which is 50% up to 75,000. So the community is hoping to raise 125,000, and so you've got roughly 50 of that then, because they don't match it until you match it.
Right.
So you've raised 50, so we need to raise another $75,000 to complete that. But they've got some people that they're approaching that hopefully will come through with that. But PD Coalition does a
That's in the building that used to be.
Tim Ammons,
office
yeah,
on
yeah.
31.
Yeah, they've done a good job. All right, citizens report. Anything going? You've been the only one here. And we're glad you're here. All right, well, let's go to old business then. Ordinance number 20-14, rezoning of R. Walton Brown et al. Property from a B2 highway commercial district to R7 medium density residential district, second reading. All those in favor? Or can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, new business. This is ordinance number 20-15, maintenance of residential garbage containers. Glenn, can you give us a little background on that?
Yeah. We have, and Bert will probably give you a little bit more than I, we have on several occasions a week where people are reporting their roll call for this. And it's more so that for you, getting roll calls is a headache. We're not able to get any. I mean, we budget some, we order some, we got some still in back order. But it seems like every day somebody's missing a roll call, or they defaced the roll call. They've done something to it themselves. And it's gotten to the point where we're just eating that cost when the user should be more responsible and take care of their roll call. So this ordinance would provide steps for us to take in case someone misplaces their roll card, or they deface their roll card, they tear up their roll card, damage their roll card, make them more accountable. And that cost would be roughly $85 to replace that card if it's not used. It costs us.
Do they, are there recurrent offenders?
Sometimes it is, isn't it?
The problem is that a lot of residents, they put the can out by the road and they leave it by the road.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it stays out there for a period of time and people come by or steal them or whatever.
Yeah.
And we feel that as expensive as they are, if people were held more responsible for their can, they would go out and get it, bring it back to their house
Yeah.
and take care of their can.